Yeah, all right. What's up, DADHOOD? We are back. We have a new fun episode today. I got Joe Jensen with me in the studio. We're about to have some fun, man. I actually met Joe through his brother that was on Car Seats and Coffee, Jason Jensen, who I've done some acting and stuff with in the past. And if you're your brother said to me, he's like, you two are either going to hit it off because you're so much alike or you're not going to like each other. So we'll find out through this episode. I have a good vibe that it's going to go the first way, but we're going to go with the flow. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'm excited for it. I know we've been trying to connect on this for a while. My brother put us in touch. I've been following your stuff, and we definitely have a lot of the same interests and passions, so I'm excited.
Yeah, it's funny. What we were just saying that like 2 years or something we've been trying to lock an episode down.
Yeah, it's crazy how schedules go, but I'm excited we're finally doing it.
For sure. Well, Joe, for the listeners, how about you just give a little backstory, something about yourself, just what makes Joe tick?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, obviously that's a big question, but to make it simple, yeah, my name's Joe Jensen. I'm from Utah. I grew up out on the Utah-Nevada border, like out of the middle of nowhere by the Great Basin National Park, just small ranch towns out there. And then my family and I moved to Provo, my senior year of high school. So I lived in Provo for a while. I live in St. George now. I spent a decade doing sales, traveling the country, in the sales season and then the world and in the off season. And so, yeah, man, I just love the outdoors. I love adventure. I love challenges, fitness challenges, races, competitions, but I love just playing out in the mountains, especially the mountains and the ocean. So I lived in Hawaii for a while. That place has my heart. But I'm a dad of two. I've got a 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. And yeah, man, I'm just trying to love life.
Dude, that's so awesome. I know I check out your feed, dude, and it's always like you look like you're in some cool tropical area. And the one thing I love about it, and I just was mentioning this on someone else's feed today, is the way that I see you flexing, like on social, that's what I call it, is like doing stuff with your kids, like having fun with your family. Like they're involved, dude. And I just want to say I love and appreciate that, man, because I think we need as dads to highlight that more. Like no one cares what car we're driving or what house we live in. But stuff like that really is important. So I admire watching your feed, dude, and seeing all the fun things that you're doing.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah. And honestly, it's like, that's my daily life. So, I'm a single dad. I got divorced a few years ago, and it really changes your perspective on your time use and your relationship with your kids. Cause you're not just like a provider anymore or something like that. It's like you're everything. And so I've really been able to pull the good out of that and enjoy that, but I definitely get a lot of time with the kids. So that's what you're going to see, because that's what's going on.
Dude, it's so good. If you don't mind, let's jump into that, dude. Tell me about being just the single dad, doing your thing with them. Like, what are some of the struggles with that you're going through?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like anything in life, there's pros and cons, right? There's good things of it and there's bad things of it. There's downsides to being married. There's upsides. There's downsides being, single, and there's upsides, and every situation's like that. But for me, some of the good that really came out of it is my focus, became a lot more on my kids than it was before. And they were always my priority, you know what I mean? But I had other responsibilities that I was focusing on as well, trying to, build a life for the family and everything like that. But after going through the divorce, I kind of shifted, and I didn't have the help and the support of a wife to kind of watch the kids, so I could go, take over the business world. And it was like, oh, okay. So I kind of pivoted and started just doing remote real estate investing, where I could be really flexible. I could do it from wherever. I could then be there to raise my kids half the time, and their mom's still in the picture and takes care of them half the time. So I have a lot of support there, on the other half. But when I have them full time. And so it's been interesting just being able to pour so much into them. And they're this young age, right? 4 and 6. And when I got divorced, it was 2 and 4, right? So these really formative ages. And it's been just really fun. I have to keep telling myself, like, there'll be time to climb those mountains. There'll be time to take over the world later. But like right now, just like bond with them as deeply as you possibly can, because in a few years, they'll be in school all day And then you'll have a lot more free time to get everything done. And then a few years after that, they won't even want to hang out with you. And then, then eventually, they'll move out or whatever. So it's like, just bond with them as much as you possibly can while they're this bonding age, because it sets a lot of a foundation for your relationship. So that's what I keep telling myself and trying to remind, when they're driving me nuts and, I want to rip their little heads off, because that definitely happens too. And if anybody has kids, so.
Oh, 100%. And if you don't say that or don't admit it, it's like you're just lying to yourself, bro.
Exactly.
Exactly. You said a comment and it resonates so much with me. And I think this is where your brother was definitely talking about it. This desire of quote unquote, like taking over the world, like getting the most out of life that we possibly can. Right. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like now that you've made those transitions, like, are you feeling any less like you're engaged with life? You're really going at it, minus maybe the one, like you're saying, a hike or a mountain climb or something you got to train extra hard for. But do you really feel like you're missing out on anything at this stage?
Because of the divorce or the kids or?
Yeah, just like this being like the single dad and like having to, raise them and stuff. Are you feeling like you're missing like the business?
I mean, it's all in relative to what, right? In relative to some situations, I'd be, not missing anything. But I mean, I miss stuff all the time. I mean, it's like every single day there's this thing going on that I'm like, oh, I can't make it. I've got my kids. You know what I mean? I can't make it. I'm hanging with the kids this week. I can't make it. I'm doing this. So like, I don't emotionally feel like I'm missing out on my life in any way. But do I miss out on stuff? Like all the time. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it. And, because there's like, man, if I didn't have kids, I'd be like, I'd probably go live a few months in Thailand and go back by this, because I can work remotely now. And so it's like, I'm like, man, I have this freedom financially and work-wise that I never had before. And I did that so I could be with my kids. And I'm like, man, if I didn't have the kids, like, holy crap, I really could just go do the gnarliest stuff. You know what I mean? And so, you miss out on a lot, but you also, there's whatever that is being filled with, which is, raising little humans and helping them understand the world and getting to see the world through their eyes, which is always so incredible. Just on that note, I know I've been talking long, but they wanted to watch a movie the other night. I was showing them this little Instagram video. It was like the song from the Titanic. And it was like this little cutesy way they did it. And the kids were like, oh, that's cool. Is that from a movie? I'm like, yeah. They're like, can we watch it? I'm like, sure. So we go down, we start watching Titanic, and we're watching, and they don't even know what's going on, whatever. But I'm like, they kind of actually were following pretty good. And it occurred to me, they don't know the ship is going to sink at the end. Like, they don't know that the Titanic's not going to make it. And so, like, they're like, so when are they going to get to America? And they're like asking all these questions. And I'm just like, oh, this is so fun. And so just like, it's such a realization of the eyes of a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, you know what I mean? It's kind of an interesting way to view the world.
Dude, when you were watching it, was there any point where you're like, maybe I should turn this off before they find out what happens?
No, in fact, I realized there's all these like flash forwards. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, but like it starts out and it shows the sunken ship and then like the old lady talking. And there's a couple flash forwards, and I would actually fast forward through that part so they don't know. They're just seeing the ship story. So I want to like, we only watched half of it because it's like 3 hours long. So I want to finish the other half and see their reactions when they find out what happens. Because like, you can't ever watch Titanic with someone who doesn't already know the ending,
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Dude,
fun.
that is such an awesome takeaway. Like, for the other dads that are listening, like creating an experience like that and viewing it from the excitement of a child rather than our own like preconceived notions, or we already know what happened because we've seen the movie or whatever. Like, what a fun way to view it. And ultimately, if we could view more things in our life that way, it'd be more exciting, I think, right?
Well, I think that's one of the coolest things about, raising little humans and living with them is getting to see everything through these brand new little eyes that have never experienced anything. And it's like, if you can take that in, like I said, it just shifts your whole perspective,
For sure. That's so cool. So what would you say with the little ones right now? What's your biggest like struggle when you're just like in full dad mode?
Oh man, biggest struggle. It's just so like this is what I say. I'm like, raising kids is actually not hard as long as you give them 100% of your attention 100% of the time, right? If you're like totally there and you have nothing else to do and no distractions, like it's not that bad, right?
Sure.
But it's when you have to do anything else that it can get really, really frustrating. And it's like, I do have to take this call from my attorney about closing on this property. I do have to take this, whatever, schedule a dental appointment. And, it's like when you have to like start doing other things, like, and they just don't get that. And they're just like, talk to me, play with me, do this. You're just like, or even just doing things for yourself. Like, dude, I have to take some time to do my fitness program, like do my regimen, like get on top of my mental health and my self-care or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like, it's really hard to balance that because they just don't have any patience or understanding of it.
Yeah, dude. No, I totally get that. Like I've been, so I have a test for Taekwondo thing coming up, and my boys will come in, and it's a 20-day challenge thing. I got to do like certain things every day, and they're coming in and they're like, why are you doing this again? I'm like, bro, either join me or go, dude. I don't know what to tell you right now, but like I've noticed my little one, like he's all in. Like he'll come in, he'll start doing like kicks with me, and he's all over it. I'm like, this is a fun like opportunity, but I think it's okay. And I want to like reiterate that message. That's like, it's good to do your thing, and it's okay for your kids to come in and see you taking care of yourself, doing your fitness routine or doing whatever. Like that's not taking away from them. I think in the bigger scheme of things, it's actually giving them permission to do the same eventually in their own lives, right?
Yeah, 100%. No, that's one thing I love is when they can see you doing the things that make you have a balanced, well, happy, healthy life. You know what I mean? I have a yoga practice I do every morning, and my kids will come and they'll join me, and my little boy will jump on my back and make it more difficult. And my little girl will start doing the yoga moves next to me. And it's like, it's not, they don't always do it, but it's so fun for them to see that as like a normal thing, because I didn't develop like a fitness routine until like much later in life. And I never seen it. I never seen my parents work out. We grew up on a ranch, like working out was just living, you know what I mean? We're throwing hay bales around and building barns and like carrying rocks. It was like, there was no like fitness lifestyle. And so when you move out of the ranch, a lot of people, it's when they stop high school and college, when they're not playing organized sports, they're like, oh, they don't have that like structure anymore. You know what I mean? And so I think it's cool if the kids can see that as just a daily practice in your own home from when they're, first growing in those formative years. Like hopefully it'll stick, just be like normal. They're just like, yeah, of course you do this every day.
For sure. What was the catalyst for you, like setting up your own routine and really getting into fitness?
Oh man, honestly, it goes back to about a decade ago. I saw my dad. So my grandpa had a big stroke forever ago, like 20 years ago. And he like got paralyzed in half his body. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. I was just kind of a kid or whatever. And then my dad had a big heart attack about a decade ago and had quadruple bypass surgery on his heart. Like that's all the bypasses you can have, right? And so it was kind of a big deal. And I was like, oh man, like I got to take my health and fitness like in my own hands. Like I got to be careful about this. Like I'm still young enough that if I'm smart now, then I can prevent a lot of future stuff. So that was kind of just this like mortality moment of like, dude, one, my dad is mortal. Things can happen and we can get into that. But then two, it's like, I'm his kin, I'm mortal too. And so that's what really started. It started just with running, and I started getting into running, and then I got into like CrossFit, and then I got into, a bunch of different sports, surfing and diving and ultra running. And then, recently more yoga, and just like implementing these different aspects of it have just kind of been this ongoing thing ever since I realized how big of a deal it is. Cause I don't want to end up like some of our loved ones we've seen who have struggled health wise.
No, that's so good, dude. I'd love to jump in and talk like about you and your relationship and stuff with your dad. Like how was that growing up?
Yeah, man, it was good. I mean, it's like hard to say because you don't know any different, you know what I mean? So it's like, but it was good. I feel like it was usually work based. My dad's he's a hard worker and he's very professional. Like we didn't do a lot of play. Even now, like he's so businessman. Like if he wants to give you a gift, it's like a business transaction. It's like, Dad, it's just a birthday present. Chill. You know what I mean? He's like, no, here's some, a share of this, or, it's this thing. And then because of that, like it's all business for him. But I've learned to like see that that's just kind of his love language. That's how he communicates. And like literally we're all part of this like family trust. And so for Christmas, instead of like giving us, like he gives us like a K-1 tax return with like a bonus from the business. It's like, it's a Christmas present, you know what I mean? But like, that's how he does it in his mind. And it's funny, but I had a good relationship with him. We didn't play a lot, but we worked a lot and did a lot. And he taught me a lot. He's much a teacher. He taught me about money. He taught me about real estate. He taught me about hard work. One from, again, like we said, just seeing him do it, it just, came across. And then as I got older, I was like, hey, explain this on a deeper level. And he, we've spent countless hours just talking about all the answers of the universe and money and life. And I'm super grateful for it.
No, that's really cool. So what is like, I mean, besides all of that, like, and I can kind of see how it correlates in, but like, what are some of the things that either he did with you or some of those lessons that you're like, man, this is really important for me to share with my kids?
Yeah. One, this is not to put him on blast, but here, I'll give you an example of what I learned I didn't want to do was I wanted to have, I remember there's a moment, it was my brother, Jason, the one that right? He took him on a ski trip, right? Just the two of them. They went out and went on this ski trip, and I don't know any of the details. I was pretty young, but I just remember like, I want to go on a ski trip with Dad, and I didn't get to go, and I was probably too young to even like ski or whatever. But I never got to do that solo trip, and I was just like, man, and it's funny because out of all the things, I'm sure he's done a billion things for me, but as dads, it's like, you don't know what your kid's going to remember. You know what I mean? Like you really bend over backwards and walk on fire for them. And they just remember the one time you got frustrated and yell at them, and it's like, son of a, but it stuck out to me. And I'm like, I want to make sure I have these one-on-one solo bonding experiences with my kids. Right now it's just a little hike here, a little date with my daughter, whatever, but the solo experience with your kids is a different world than the family experience. And I think it's something it's easy to neglect and bypass. Like, oh, I spend a lot of time with my kids. It's like, but when's the last time you spent just solo one-on-one time with just that kid? That's something I don't think I had a ton of with my dad. And I kind of longed for it. And as an adult, I've had a lot of it, though. I've been able to have countless hours, just me and him. And so I've definitely made up for it.
Yeah. But it's still funny how we hold, even though we have that now, as adults, we still hold on to that. But when I was a kid, that's when it was the most important.
It's funny the things that just like get these core memories. If you ever watch Inside Out or whatever, it was an awesome movie. But yeah, you have these core memories and you don't get to choose which ones they are. And I think that's something to consider as a parent too. It's like you're creating core memories with your kids, for your kids, but you don't know which ones are going to stick. So it's like, it's kind of scary, but.
And we also we can't even plan that out. Like, and I think like parents are just like this, it's like the vacation, right? So like, we're going to take them to say the big one, like Disney or something like that. And you're like, they're going to be so stoked on this. And then you ask them later, you're like, what's the best trip we've gone on so far? They're like, it's when we went camping up in the mountains. Like, that was like 5 minutes away, bro. Like, it's just these things that like, you can't predict it. Like you're saying any of these things, but it's like, with that said, I love this notion of the one-on-one. And I've heard this so many times lately by people. And I'm like, that's the one I got to do. And not making it a huge thing, just being like, yo, we're going to go, I don't know, we're just going to go up to Bear Lake for the night or something like that. Just something like really easy. Yeah. But it's like, I think that quality, right? Versus like the quantity we have all the time. Like just because you were in the room with them doesn't mean we're spending time with them, right?
Even if it's just a couple hours, you just go on a hike together, go on a walk together. Like
Right.
it could just anything. I think the more of a shared activity is fun, but it doesn't even have to be a big retreat or a weekend or it can literally just be 2 hours while the other kid is busy doing something else. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
make it intentional where it's like, hey, you and me are going to do this thing. And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
cool. I went on this little hike and it's cute with my boy and he's 4. And we found this culvert going under the road, pretty big culvert. And we crawled through the culvert and it was a cave and he thought it was so awesome. And then every time he sees his sister when we're driving around, he's like, oh, we got to show her the cave. We got to show her the cave. Like he's always wanting her to see it too.
Yeah.
Because it was just like this experience that just the two of us had. But they love each other, so they want the other one to experience it too.
Oh, that's cool. See, I have 2 boys, and they're kind of like, it's not, I want you to experience it. I want to rub this kind of in your face.
That
Like
too. Yes. Yes.
But no, that's so fun, dude. I love that recommendation. I hope a lot of the listeners will like take that into consideration. Just get out and do something fun. Do you, now that you're into more like yoga and stuff like that, you were saying, do you try to create a space for them to join you in any of these? I mean, other than them climbing.
100%. 100%. I'll like throw out another yoga mat. I'm like, if you guys want to join, it's right here. Like, let's do this. I'll pull up like a kid yoga video. And a lot of times they don't. I don't force it. I don't push it. You know what I mean? But I definitely want to have a space for them to do it. I have a little garage gym as well. And I like it because when I go to like the gym, when I have a membership or ever go to a gym, it's like the kids can't be on the workout floor. And I love being able to work out at home because then they can pick up little weights and they can move their body and do squats and like just, I like to create a space for them to do that for sure.
That's so cool. Yeah, I've been trying to do that more like meditation with my boys. My one son, he's like in it. He's like,
Nice.
I think he was like a guru or something before in a past life. Like he just has that vibe to him. He's like all about like, let's do breathing exercises, dad, and stuff. While others like, nope, I don't want to be here. I don't even want to sit in the room while the music's playing kind of kid, But I think allowing that space and inviting him in is cool. And then just being like, it's okay if you're not into this. You don't need to be into the things dad's into, right?
100%. Well, and it's funny because I have a girl and a boy, so it's always like, oh, there's a contrast there, but every person's different. But something I think people like, so those parents listening who have more than one kid, your kids are not the same age. Like, and I mean, no, that unless they're twins, then I guess they are. But it's so easy for me to like forget that, like, oh, my boy is developmentally 2 years younger than my girl. And so like the things that she's down with, like you're saying, the ones like all in, it's like, but would they have been 2 years ago? You know what I mean? Like would they have been? So it's easy to start treating all the kids like, okay, we're going to go do this thing and get a little impatient with this one. It's like, they're not the same age. They're not developmentally the same. It's really tricky with me too, is my boy size wise has caught up with my girl. And so they look the same. People think they're twins. They're the same size, give or take like 2 pounds and like a half an inch or something, but I forget like, dude, he's 2 years younger. I don't know how she would have been reacting to these things 2 years ago. And so I just think I think people can maybe remember that or remind themselves of that when they're doing these family activities that, that they're not the same.
No, that's so good, man. My oldest boy, like he's 8, right? So they're 7 and 8. They're like really close in age. But he is like, he's a workhorse. He just wants to work. He just wants, he thrives off of purpose, but doesn't care about like the attention or any of that, just all purpose. And sometimes it's hard, for me because I see him and he's so willing to help out with a lot of stuff that you forget like, no, he's an 8-year-old child. Like he acts extremely mature and just like he's like in it, like he's doing dishes, like cleaning up. I mean, he's just in it always. So remembering that too, like these children aren't here to like assist us, right? People are like, oh, they're here to help out. Like get your kid to do all the chores. It's like, well, no, like we still have to remember the fact that like they're little beings who would probably choose like playing the majority of time over doing chores, but they're doing that out of maybe trying to like either please us or help us out or whatever. And just giving that permission and that space too, to be like, go outside and play, dude. Like, you don't have to be in here doing this stuff. So,
well, and that's the funny thing about parenting, right? It's like, they hit these different stages, and every single kid's different. So even if you dial in something that works for this kid, it's completely different for this kid. And then in 1 year from now, it'll be different for the other one. And you're just like, oh man, like you can never get a perfect rhythm of how to parent a person, because it's constantly changing. It's a liquid playing field. It's like, all right, here we go. You just got to roll with the punches.
Dude, for
Sometimes
sure.
literally. Literally. My boy, he's in this punch mode. He'll just come up, boom, just punch you right in the face. He just decked his sister the other day for absolutely no reason. You're just like, dang, dude, like chill.
Bro, relax. It's like the dude that's aggro in the club. You're like, bro, we're all just hanging out. Like, why you gotta want to fight like everybody?
For real, dude. And it's funny, and it's like, yeah, they're just crazy. Like on that note, if you ever listen to these, like there's all these self-help stuff out there, right? And they're like, no, if you look at children, they're innocent and happy until they're taught to be angry and mean and they're taught to be unsaid. I'm like, have you ever been around a kid? Like, no, dude, like they are vicious little demons who are innately a-holes. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm not teaching them to do this crap. Like, they are insane and selfish and rude and inconsiderate and grumpy and sad. And that is innate. I'm not teaching them that. Like they will hate. It is there. We have to teach them to manage all the emotions that come with being part of human. You have these chemicals and you're hungry and you're tired. They experience it all, and they've never experienced it in their life. So they have no idea how to handle it. So we have to teach them how to manage all those emotions. But it kills me when I listen to these gurus and they're like talking about how, like, as a child they're like this. I'm like, you've never been around a kid, dude. Like, they are not these innocent little perfect beings.
Dude, I love that you just said that, Joe. Seriously, that was so awesome, because it's true. It's like, it's almost like harder to teach them how to be kind, how to be compassionate, how to share. Like, these are the things that it's like, it's hard to teach them. To your point, they just want to pick things up and throw them, destroy, like whatever, Dude, that is so funny, that whole concept. When thinking about that though, because like my older son, the one that is the workhorse, like he also had a harder time, like identifying which emotions, like we all do. And I say that harder time, like it's like, well, no one teaches you, how do you know? But we like specifically would like grab these cards that like had every single emotion on them. And when he was behaving a certain way, rather than at first it was like, dude, don't be a jerk, like stop being mean and like yelling and talking back all this. It's like, how about we just grab these cards and sit here for a minute and you tell me what's going on? And dude, I'm not even kidding, Joe, at one time, and he was like 5 or 6 at the time, he pulled out like 12 different emotion cards, dude. And it was like someone just socked me in the stomach. Like, I felt so ridiculous of how I, as an adult, was behaving towards him when he was having all of these feelings inside. And as we all know, anger and that kind of emotion, those are secondary emotions to the other feelings that you're experiencing, right? And he was just like, to be able to acknowledge that and to work on that. I'm like, oh, school's not going to teach you this stuff, dude. School's not going to tell you you're angry right now because you felt scared, you felt nervous or something else. And anger is just that secondary emotion to it. So it was like, I think that that's so important to like be able to help our kids just like identify that, to your point. Identify, how do you feel? And can you not only identify, can you express it? Like, because if you can express it, you're even more apt to like get probably the result you want out of life, right?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of power in labeling the emotion. It's like when they're mad, oh man, it seems like you're really frustrated right now. It seems like you're really sad right now. It seems like you might be like scared or worried about something. Like labeling that and just like making space for that, where it's like, it's okay. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, it's like, we get mad at them because they're acting like insane lunatic terrorists, right? But they've literally never dealt with emotions before. And then on top of that, the reason they're having that chemical imbalance of emotions is because they ate crap cereal for breakfast, and that's all they have, this crazy glucose spike with insulin pumping through their veins, and they're just like have no emotional control because they're not satiated and have no nutrition in them because they refuse to eat the good stuff we try to make them. You know what I mean? But it's like it's out of their control too. It's like it's literally just a chemical bodily thing happening because they're not getting enough sleep and they're not eating right, they're not moving their bodies, and you're like, oh man, and that's all on you because they don't know any better. And so it's like but then we get mad at them, you know what I mean? And we do that to each other, to our loved ones and our lovers and our spouses and our friends and ourselves. And it's like, oh yeah, man, like we're a bag of chemicals that creates emotions. We need to like balance that out. Hence going back to the fitness program and being able to move your body and get sunlight and everything like that.
Yeah. And we're in a system that doesn't like honor or care about that either. It's like, let's just pump you full of a bunch of crap and just get you out there and get you super stressed out with the hustle mentality and everything. Just, it's that's so interesting, dude. So I want to kind of like split this up for a second. We're going to do the dad deck, dude. We're going to just so I'm just going to scroll through them. You tell me when to stop. There's no trickery here. We're just going to go with the flow. So you tell me when.
All right, stop.
Okay, do you want this one or this one?
Nope.
This one?
No, other one.
Yeah. Okay, taking that one.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay. This will be a great one for you. So how would you describe yourself as a dad?
How would I describe myself as a dad? I'm involved. I'm present. I care. I try. I'm not innately like, it's not innate to me. Like I'm not this like, it's not like my natural desire to like parent and like nurture and stuff like that. And so I have to try to overcome that. And I'd say, but as a dad, my number one focus is to bond and teach. That is like my whole focus of everything that's going on through the day. Like whatever, anything that we're doing, I kind of like have this underlying, okay, how am I going to bond with them and how am I going to teach them? And if I can do those things, that will answer everything else of the discipline and the this and that. Am I doing enough and all that? Because at the end of the day, if I don't have a bond with them where they can't trust me, then I'm going to lose them and the life's going to take them away and they're going to go, I can't help them when the big decisions come because it doesn't matter if they have the blue cup or the red cup or whatever they do, what sport they start at 5 years old, like none of that matters. But when they're old enough to have the things that do matter, I want to be a resource where they can come to me and be like, dude, what do I do about this thing? But if they're not close to me, if we haven't bonded, then it's no good. And if I'm not wise enough and trained enough and knowledgeable enough to teach them good things, then they're not going to come to me even if they're bonded and they trust me and they like me. They're like, yeah, but he doesn't know anything. He doesn't know how to manage his emotions. And that's where it goes down to me too. It's like, I have to be emulating it. I have to live a life that when my kids become 14, 15, 16, 18, 22, they're like, dude, my dad's the shit. Like he knows it. Like look at him. Like he understands how to keep his body healthy, his mind healthy. He does the things that he loves to do. He's living a life I want to live. That's the guy I'm going to go to for advice. Like I have to live that life or my kids are just going to love me, but go, sorry, Dad, I'm going to go to somewhere else because you don't have it figured out.
Yes. Dude, that's so good. One of the guests I previously had on, he said whenever he wants to teach his boy, he has all boys, and he's like, when I want to teach them something I find is important in my life, like I go and I do research to find someone that they're following that also has that same message that I'm teaching them, because then it's like, it's not just my dad trying to like speak at me again.
I love that. And yeah, my kids aren't old enough to really like follow people yet. So I'm glad to have that advice now because, they are in gymnastics right now. And just seeing the instructor tell them something, I'm like, it's so nice having an outside source tell them something you want to tell them. And I love that concept. That's really cool.
Yeah. Dude, so tell me, what's one thing you wish you would have known before like becoming a dad? What's one thing you wish you would have known about it, the process that would have made it a little easier for you?
Whew. Um, man, that's a hard one. Um, I think for me personally, not just generic advice role. We always like to give advice, right? Oh, this is what people should do, but it's like, what about for me?
Yes,
What I
exactly.
had known. Um, Man, I don't know if there's anything that can make it easier, honestly, except for just learning to manage your own emotions.
Hmm.
I think that's the only possible thing of advice you could give to someone that would actually make it easier. And I'm sure there's a million other good things, but if you can learn to manage your emotions, um, and do all the things that that takes by having a healthy lifestyle and a balanced lifestyle, because you can't manage your emotions out of the blue. Like I said, you're a bag of chemicals, and if the mixture's wrong, even if you're really gritty, you're still going to be boiling inside, right? You have to have a balanced, healthy lifestyle to be able to manage your emotions correctly. And I think just understanding that would be the foundation for understanding all the other things of how to parent and how to talk to them and how to teach them and identifying their emotions and giving them space to feel pain, like all the tricks of the parenting books out there. It stems from that.
Do you have anything that you like to do, like kind of a routine or ritual or anything before you're going into like that dad mode and giving the attention? Do you have anything like breath work, or do you do anything that kind of like helps regulate you so you can be a little more present and manage your emotions better?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's as trendy as anything, but like having like if I wake up early, have a cold bath or a cold shower, like guess what, guys? You don't have to have a cold dip. You can just turn the water cold in your shower. Like it's so like you go, and I love that stuff. Like I love it. I go out to the cold lakes just like you, and
Yes.
I have a cold dip, and like, but if you don't have one, just turn on the shower cold. It's okay.
Yeah.
But having that, like waking up even 20 or 30 minutes earlier than them, but especially if you can get like an hour or two and get your body moving, get a little bit of sunlight if possible, but definitely like the cold shock and like just truly wake up. Then when they come in, it's like, let's go, guys. But
Yeah.
if I'm tired, I didn't get to bed on time. That's a huge one. Like
Mhm.
I just am a grumpy piece of crap when I'm like really, really tired. I can't take it. And there's something about kids, like I could go through a work day exhausted
Mhm.
and pull it off. But kids demanding whines, like the way they are, like it pushes levers that you didn't think you had. Like you could be the most calm, nice person, but the way kids will hit you, like it can push you to a whole nother level. And I say you, like maybe not for everybody. For me, I feel that. I feel like I'm a really like level-headed person, but my kids can take me to a place I'm like I didn't know existed.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, the morning routine it helps me a lot, and it's not always possible because they wake up really early, and it's like it can be tricky. But I notice I'm just 1,000% a better dad if I have that dialed.
Hmm. No, that's so good, dude. I'm there with you, man. Like I can chill, like work pressure, whatever's going on, but it's just that they know how to get to a different level or just get in there and hit the times or the right moments that you're just like, bro, I feel like I'm losing my mind right now. So
Yeah,
it's
there's
so
just nobody else in life that is so disrespectful. Like no one would just be like, please, 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 and then you explain all the reasons why you can't. They're like, okay, can we do it anyway? Like it's just beyond any social interaction that you would ever have. Like
mm,
it's crazy. Like how much, and so you're just not used to it as you live your life. You're like, no one treats people like that, but
yeah.
kids do. And then you add the point that you are responsible for them and you're madly in love with them,
Mhm.
and then you've got all these emotions, and it's like
Yeah,
it's an interesting balance, man.
it totally is, dude. Well, first and foremost, I'm so glad we got to connect, dude. It's finally like awesome to jam with you on this, hear your insight, your feed, like just how you're interacting with your kids. A lot of these same things are resonating a ton with me, and I know they're going to resonate a ton with the listeners. Is there anything else, like a message, like say your kids are like 25 and they have an opportunity to listen to this episode, there'd be kind of like a message or something you would want them to remember or take away from just you as a dad?
Yeah, man. Like, I hope that I taught them how to be healthy and happy. Like, that's my whole focus. Actually, we wrote a little song. We have a little book I'm coming out with that I don't know when I'll finally get it published, but we have this whole little thing about like how to be healthy and happy. And it's like that's my goal for me. And
Mhm.
the way I see it, that's my role as a parent, is to teach them to be healthy and happy. And if they can get that out of life and they look back like, dude, I know how to be healthy and happy, then it's like I did my job, and hopefully we're doing it together, right? Hopefully we're doing these hikes together and going on trips together and adventuring together and doing some awesome stuff. But if not, like, at least hopefully they have the tools to go apply it with whatever conquest they're out doing.
Oh, that's so good. Joe, again, thank you for jumping on the show, brother. For the listeners that are just really like jamming with the stuff that you're saying, what's the best way they can like connect with you?
Yeah, the easiest way is just go to josephjensen.com. So that's just my name, Joseph. F is in freedom, Jensen. If you go to josephjensen.com, it's just my link tree and it has everything that I'm doing. So when I finally come out with my Happy Healthy book, you can get it there. And it has the podcast that I'm associated with and my Instagram profiles and stuff like that. So that's the best way. And feel free to reach out. Yeah, I love this stuff. So
Awesome, brother. Thanks again for jumping on the show, dude.
thanks, man. It was good to touch base with you.